Hey guys, we're at part 4 of the most common pro-choice fallacies. I guess I'm just not. I'm not. They're not ranked, obviously, but I think I'm just going to list the rest. So there's gonna be 3 in this video. I think I still have a few more I haven't got to. I still have to get to the hasty generalization, but so the example, the first one, right, is the correlation causation fallacy, right? This one is very common. So a correlation causation fallacy is where a person asserts that because two things happen at the same time, one of them causes the other. A very common example of this is when people say, oh, if you ban abortion, the maternal mortality rate will increase. Or women will die because they can't get miscarriage care. That's a correlation causation fallacy because, number one, you're saying because the laws, they're going to die. Because the laws change, therefore the maternal mortality rates is increasing, right? Even though the laws, like I said, I keep forgetting about it, but I'm going to do all 50 laws in all 50 states, plus Washington, D.C., so 51, and put that on YouTube so you can read the laws for yourself. That's a correlation causation fallacy because you have to look like there's multiple factors, right? One could say. When you look at Poland, I don't have the statistic off the top of my head, but Poland, I believe, has like one of the lowest maternal mortality rates, right? Despite the fact that their abortion laws are pretty restrictive. It would be a correlation causation fallacy to say banning abortion decreases maternal mortality. In the same sense, if banning abortion increases it, that's a correlation causation fallacy because there could be many, many factors such as, I don't know, obesity is one reason. Mind you, we live in a very obese country and, well, obesity has a lot of health problems. That could be a factor. So it's not because of the abortion laws, right? So that's a correlation causation fallacy. Two things occurring at the same time does not mean that one thing causes the other. The second, I'm actually going to save this one for the last one. So this is actually going to be in order. So the second fallacy in this video is the false dichotomy. So the false dichotomy is basically fits under the category of black and white fallacies, right? The false dichotomy is when you narrow down a situation to only two options when there's a third option, right? That's a false dichotomy. For example, let's say what they usually say is, oh, either you get this abortion or this unwanted child is going to grow up in a foster care system. They're going to be abused, blah, blah, blah. They're going to have a terrible life. That's a false dichotomy. Because you're saying there's only two options. Either you get the abortion or the child suffers in the foster care system. That's a false dichotomy. Now, I already explained in a previous video many times on my lives that a foster care system is not the same thing as adoption. Foster care, I even did a video about it actually, a TikTok live about it, but foster care is about the reunification with the original birth parents or the next of kin. Adoption is only a last resort after the rights have been terminated from the parents. That is a last resort. Adoption is completely different. You surrender your parental rights, give them away to an adoption agency, right? Foster care, your children are taken away against your will. Not the same thing. So it's a false dichotomy to say, oh, if you don't get this abortion, this child is definitely going to suffer. They're going to be abused in the foster care, which is not even true. Of course, not all children are abused in the foster care. They could also, doesn't the woman have parents or grandparents or aunts or uncles, why can't she give the child to one of those people? Heck, does she have like a neighbor, anybody? That's why it's a false dichotomy, because why are there only two options in this scenario? Now, if you're stipulating there's only two options in a hypothetical, then it's not a false dichotomy. However, if you're saying in the real world this will happen, then it's a false dichotomy, because it's not a hypothetical in that case. If you're saying this will happen, that is a false dichotomy. So the third fallacy I'm going to do in this video is, I think it's a slippery slope fallacy. And the reason why I saved it for last, it's not something that is common. The slippery slope fallacy is not common. So the slippery slope fallacy is where a person says, if you do this action, an unchained events will happen. And those events are not supported by evidence or strong evidence. So slippery slope is not inherently fallacious, right? Because there are cases where if you do this one action, these things will happen. I would say abortion really is a slippery slope. Because if you put an arbitrary marker at killing a child in utero, what's to stop someone from saying we can't kill people who are 7 feet tall? Or whatever reason. But an example that pro-choicers say is, if you ban abortion, they're going to go after gay marriage. They're going to go after interracial marriage. They're going to go after all these other things. No, it doesn't follow. Banning abortion does not mean gay marriage should be banned. It doesn't follow. So there's no evidence to say that they would want to do that. We're against killing babies. Even if you're a Christian, it doesn't follow that because you want to ban abortion, all these other things are going to change. So those are the fallacies for this video. I'm going to make another one, but I'm really stuck on what fallacies to add, so stay tuned.